Are you ready to get your health back but feel overwhelmed by the endless healthcare options? We believe God has called each of us to a specific assignment, and we want to make sure your body, mind, and heart are up for the task. It's time to simplify the process of healing. At Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer simple, effective, easy ways to prioritize your health and gain understanding. No prescription pad needed. I'm Kari, a pharmacist turned integrative health practitioner. I'm so excited to have these conversations around topics with my friend, Jenn.
Hi there, I'm Jenn, and together with our team at Cornerstone Integrative Healing, we offer an alternative to traditional healthcare, combining our expertise and experience in the medical field with our knowledge and faith to break the cycles of guessing what's wrong. We know the road to healing, feeling good again, can be overwhelming. You can expect honest conversations around the ups and downs of healing. The truth is, there are so many layers to healing. Because we've taken the time to learn where true healing comes from, we've learned how to help other women to discover a different way of caring for themselves. Join us every week for new episodes as we discuss topics that are personal and pertinent to your healing journey. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with Kari, and today we have a very special guest. I'm so excited. Brittany Liberatore is a registered dietitian, licensed dietitian, and she is an expert in weight loss, among other things, but I'll let her talk about that. We are so excited to have you here, Brittany. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks so much.
Couple things, Brittany and Cornerstone refer back and forth a lot. We really trust each other and their skills, but I just cannot say enough about Brittany's approach to weight loss. So today we're going to talk just about the truth about some weight loss that really no one's talking about. Her expert is in mindful eating, but again, I'll let her talk a little bit more about that and some of her approaches. But she is really my go-to, Kari's as well, as anything that's related to weight loss and other things too. Diabetes, I know. Brittany, what other conditions do you focus on besides weight loss? Today, we're going to focus on weight loss, but I want to make sure they know what else you do.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Basically, I've been a dietitian for almost a decade at this point, and I've helped a variety of different individuals, but I think I've gotten to be focused down into mindful eating, weight loss, and blood sugar balance because these are honestly all tied to things like prediabetes, diabetes, and insulin resistance, sure. Perimenopause and menopause nutrition, how that changes, as well as PCOS, even high cholesterol, high blood pressure, postpartum nutrition, all of them have a lot of the same core concepts. And especially when you're focusing on blood sugar balance and mindful eating, it is going to help you lose weight and manage a lot of those conditions.
Sure. I guess we'll just dive right in. What, in your opinion, I can't tell you how many of our clients really zone in on weight loss when they're, again, their blood sugar is not balanced, their nervous system isn't regulated, and it's really hard to do. So I think probably one of the biggest, starting points, and probably for you, I mean, you're the expert, so you let us know, but what are the myths that you see around weight loss in the wellness world?
There's so many, so it's hard to define them all here today, but I'm going to try and hit on some of the big ones. First, I think a lot of women, especially because of past diet culture, because of past programs they might have done, think maybe it's all about calories, right? I mean, a slew of different diets. I won't name names because I think every program can have its effectiveness in some way, shape, or form to help somebody. But I do think that so many of them focus so much on calories instead of focusing on what I focus on is protein and fiber. And when we are getting those two nutrients really dialed in, I honestly don't feel like a person won't hit their goals. Truly. I had this question the other day, okay, does it really matter about calories? I'm like, if you hit your protein, your fiber, you're probably going to meet your goals and be on your way. There isn't a client that comes to me who has their protein and fiber dialed in who needs to focus on other aspects. Like truly, if you're doing those things, everything else kind of falls into place because protein, fiber help keep you full for longer. And so oftentimes if someone's overeating calories, it's because they don't have the right balance of nutrients. They're overeating carbohydrates. Maybe they are eating higher fat foods, especially if they're eating out a lot and things like that. But if we can really hone in on getting an adequate protein, adequate fiber every day, that's going to be key there. Kind of going along with that. So again, can it be about calories? Yes, but let's make sure protein and fiber are dialed in first. But I think the other thing is people think, well, I have to eat every couple hours to like boost my metabolism. And yes and no, very much going to be dependent on your activity level and your age and all of those other factors. But truly, like, this may actually hurt you, especially if you have insulin resistance. If you're constantly, refeeding yourself like every 2 hours, you're never giving your body that chance to rest and calm the glucose down, calm the insulin response down. And so even if we're eating quote unquote healthy foods, we still might be spiking our blood sugar yet again, causing more inflammation, causing insulin resistance to worsen. And so, and two, if you feel like I need to eat just to, boost my metabolism, well, then you might be overeating the calories, right? So that can be a situation where we need to like dial things back in, really focus on our nutrient composition at every single meal. Because if you're feeling hungry, like pretty frequently throughout the day, again, probably not getting enough protein and fiber. Some other things that I hear a lot are, well, I'm focusing on getting my steps in every day and, I'm getting in cardio exercise every day. But if you're not incorporating strength training and lifting heavy weights for you, then you're not going to really see much of a body composition change, especially if you're struggling in that like perimenopause to menopause bracket. Because we know that the metabolism is just shifting and changing in the types of nutrients it's getting in, the hormones are adjusting. And so it's going to be harder to lose weight if you're only focusing on getting your steps in. That's only going to take you so far. And unless you're going to get like 25,000 steps a day instead of like 10,000 steps, like you're just not going to see a dramatic improvement in your body composition. We know that lifting heavy for you weights, and I'm not a personal trainer. I'm not here to give specific strength training guidelines, but we do know from the research, strength training 2 to 3 times a week minimum can be super helpful in building muscle, which makes you more metabolically active, meaning you burn more calories even just sitting at rest compared to if you do a 30-minute walk, you're done burning calories after that 30-minute walk versus if you strength train, you're continuing to burn calories the rest of the day and even into the next day, depending on how hard your workout was. As far as, I'm sorry,
No, I was just going to follow up. So yeah, I think, absolutely the workouts are definitely, especially as you said, perimenopausal, menopausal. A lot of women struggle with weight loss around that time. But I was just going to ask you about the fiber, if I could back up for 1 minute. I know Absolutely. A lot of women are scared about carbs. They're really scared around carbohydrates. There was so much around no carbs or low carbs or, it was Addison's or Adkins, and then it was keto, and then it was, and it's really hard. Maybe you could have 1 or 2 tips for them around getting their fiber, not being afraid of whole food carbs.
Yeah, great question. And I agree. A lot of our carbohydrate sources, especially whole grains, are going to carry more fiber, but there's actually a lot of like healthy fat sources that do contain good amounts of fiber, like your nuts and seeds. So think of like ground flax seeds, chia seeds, basil seeds, avocados. All of those things are very high fiber and ones that I would definitely recommend getting in every single day. You are going to get fiber from your fruits and vegetables too. But unfortunately, like leafy greens don't add a ton of fiber. Sure. Like spinach isn't going to have a ton. But if you're adding in some like roasted peppers or broccoli and cauliflower, which we know are really good detoxifying veggies, those are going to be great. And those will help boost fiber using things like cauliflower rice instead of like regular rice or doing half and half, something like that. Those can be really great ways to boost fiber intake. If you're curious about what your fiber intake is, again, there's lots of apps out there where you can track your food for the day. And again, I wouldn't focus on the calories as much. I would look at your nutrient analysis at the end of the day and see where are you stacking up to fiber. We want to be aiming for at least 30 grams of fiber per day. The American guidelines is like 25 grams, and honestly, people aren't even getting that. And if you can get upwards to more, like 50 grams a day, that's even better. But again, do it slow and steady, because you aren't going to feel great if you start and like double it overnight. You're going to feel bloated, not great. So again, just try and find simple ways. Like one of the easiest hacks is if you're making a breakfast smoothie, add in ground flaxseed, add in some chia seeds, add in a cup of cauliflower rice, or some people like to do like a steamed zucchini that's then cold, and then you add that in. So, trying to find ways to not add a ton more volume to what you're eating, but just like increase the nutrient composition when you are having those things. Or if you're having like a Greek yogurt bowl, again, add those chia seeds, ground flax seeds in there, add some berries. We know raspberries and blackberries contain the most fiber per, cup or even half cup of the fruit at a time. So those, just trying to optimize those options when you do make them.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, I love that. That's really good. Yeah, I love those. Okay, so a lot of times I see women who come to us, they have a lot of issues going on, and their main concern is weight loss. And in my head, I'm thinking that is number 442 on your list of where to start. But they want to start there. And I understand, right? You want to feel comfortable in your body. Like I do get that. But what in your mind, how do you know that their body is ready for weight loss? And what are the signs that it's not ready?
Yes, that is a really great question. Well, first, I always like to assess a client's relationship with food. I think that is huge, especially if they've been on and off diets for years and years, and they just are looking for the next strict thing to follow to help them lose weight as fast as possible. Then honestly, I don't think they're ready. And part of that is peeling back the layers. I ask specific questions to my clients before they start my program of, how was your relationship with food growing up? Because again, and you guys know, because you do work with women who go through different trauma in their life, and you have to heal those aspects, and those organs are affected and all those things. And sometimes mentally, we are still impacted by the way our mom and dad raised us around food or other individuals. And so if they're stuck still in that old mindset of clean plate club, even something innocent as that. Or again, maybe it was that they were teased for their weight or things. We have to assess where their relationship with food was back then, where it's maybe been recently in their adult life-ish, and then now. Where are they at? Because again, if they're just well, I follow something for 3 months and I always just fall off. And then it's, why are we falling off, right? Why are we not sticking to something? Why can't we find something sustainable? Because people tell me, well, I was successful on XYZ diet and lost 30 pounds, but yet they're up the 30 pounds that they lost. And it's well, then it wasn't successful. It wasn't. Let's not call that a success. Right. To stick to something and follow something, but as soon as you made up your mind that you were done, then again, all the weight came back. So I really like to dig deep first and identify whether that person truly is ready. And we may need to do some mindset work first. That could include journaling. That could include, figuring out how to approach meal times where they don't feel like they need to finish their plate. All of those things I think are truly important. But also, why did you give up? Did you feel like you were giving up all your foods? I think part of that is learning more of an 80-20 approach to eating, right? We can't all possibly eat clean 100% of the time. We have parties, we have birthdays, we have different things that we enjoy eating. And I think we can end up in that space of an eating disorder like orthorexia if we're constantly striving for perfection 100% of the time, and then that's got a whole different grip on you. And so I think we have to find kind of that gray area that we can thrive in. And so making peace with food, I think, is super important, so that we're not calling things good and bad. We're looking at our deep-rooted relationship with food, kind of where those food rules might be coming from. And, how can we work in their favorites? How can we find swaps? How can we satisfy cravings? And a lot of that, honestly, goes back to the protein and fiber because struggling with cravings and hunger and mood swings and energy swings, a lot of times that's because we're not getting the right balance of nutrients throughout the day. And we start boosting our protein, having a super high protein, high fiber breakfast to start the day, and continuously feeding yourself at regular intervals throughout the day to nourish your body, then a lot of those things fall into place. The food noise that a lot of women struggle with, where they're like constantly thinking about food or constantly thinking about what they shouldn't be eating, a lot of that just goes away when you're nourishing super well. So I would say first things first is heal that relationship with food aspect of things. But also, I see a lot of women who honestly aren't eating enough calories. When I go through a food log for someone and I'm seeing them eat like 1,200 calories a day because that's what MyFitnessPal told them to do, I'm like, okay, that's like way below your BMR. So I always calculate when a client starts with me, a full nutrient analysis of what I think is appropriate for them based upon height, weight, age, activity level, conditions going on. And, we'll go through their carbs, fats, proteins, fiber ratios that I think would be appropriate as well. But then I look at their food log and I look at, okay, what have you been eating regularly? Part of those calculations that I do, we calculate BMR, which is basal metabolic rate. This is the calories you need to just be awake and breathing. And unfortunately, there's a lot of diets and programs out there that will put somebody below their BMR for a significant period of time. And that just stresses the metabolism out. It's going to make your metabolism actually go down. You're going to burn less calories. It's going to start conserving everything, which is another reason why women can end up seeing no results. They plateau, and again, some of those programs out there, they do that on purpose so you lose weight really fast. Sure. Yeah, that's great. That feels awesome. It's not sustainable. And then you're wreaking havoc on your health and on your metabolism. And so part of that is getting people to understand that you're not eating enough and we need to slowly, sometimes I do what's called a reverse diet, where we're actually adding in an extra 50 to 100 calories every week to get our calories back up to what is a sustainable level just to maintain. And once we get to that point and we stay there for like 6 weeks or so, then we can focus on weight loss. And this is very hard for women to understand, I think. So like, wait, you want me to eat more? Like, why? That's not going to work. But again, we have to restore the metabolism. And if we don't do that properly, you're going to be on a yo-yo diet for the rest of your life. You're going to go up and down, and that's just going to be frustrating. And it's not going to be nourishing for your body. And that's where it's often we see other, organ issues going on because we're not giving ourselves the right balance of vitamins and minerals and nutrients to function. And then our body's just super stressed. So I think getting through to people and understanding that I know an app told you that that's okay to eat that little, and you may think it's okay to eat that little. That is not okay. Right. And we need to restore normal body functioning for your body to trust that it's safe to even lose weight.
I totally agree. I mean, Kari, we see this so often that, one is, I just want to affirm what you said. I can't tell you how many women, and in it all, in vulnerability, including myself, who have a history of disordered eating. Maybe not a defined eating disorder, but definitely disordered eating. Right, Kari? I mean, I would say 90% of the women that we see, whether it's restrictive eating or, like you said, some sort of, there's a body image issue. And so, they've, have a not great relationship with food. But I also want to say that I think, as you mentioned, eating too little calories, women don't understand the metabolic activity. Like we see, again, often that thyroids aren't working well. And literally, I've seen just adding calories and all of a sudden their thyroid starts to come back online. More carbs, whole food carbs, right? Fiber, like you said. And all of a sudden their cold hands and feet go away and their hair stops falling out sometimes. Now, is it always that simple? Absolutely not. But you see initially that you're like, and the light bulb goes off for them that, feeding yourself is, imperative for the metabolic function and not just to, calorie deficit, that sort of thing. So with that, what, as we're talking about weight loss, what does a sustainable weight loss actually look like? And you talked about the quick results. Obviously, you mentioned sometimes that includes actually reverse dieting, right? Eating more to start, but sustainably over a long period of time. I would say, obviously we see mostly women at perimenopause, menopause who really struggle too. What should they expect? But even women who maybe have been in, like, as you mentioned, trauma response, or, their nervous system's dysregulated and they're starting to be more regulated. What does that look like? Weight loss look like for them?
Yes. So again, if somebody is at a, substantial amount of calories, that would be appropriate to cut from, right? So we always want to make sure that we are eating well above our BMR, eating appropriately. But of course, we may want to, cut back a little bit just on like added sugars and, different refined carbohydrates that aren't filling them up, things like that we want to try and be mindful of. Again, we always want to focus on protein and fiber first, but truly to like lose weight, we want to make sure that we're not cutting back like 500 to 800 calories at once, right? That's again where different diets and programs out there are going to have you do that because you lose weight fast. But fast doesn't last. You're going to hit plateaus really quickly. We're going to damage other systems and organs. So what I recommend, honestly, is just 250 to 300 calorie reduction. And this could, again, simply be that, hey, you've kind of been unnecessarily snacking after dinner. You're not really that hungry. Let's cut that out. Easy. Right. Not easy, but that's really what we're talking, right? It's just those little excess things. And honestly, a lot of times when someone comes to work with me, they're more open to reducing things like alcohol. Again, alcohol adds up really quick, especially if you're in a season of insulin resistance, perimenopause, and menopause. Alcohol is not your friend. It is not going to help you lose weight and lose fat. And so, again, making just small tweaks like that is just going to be really key. But of course, my first primary focus is what do we need to add, right? How can we add more fiber? How can we add more protein? Again, maybe we're just shifting portions. Like, hey, you've been having even a big serving of quinoa can not be super helpful, again, from like a blood sugar perspective. And so, hey, we're going to reduce the quinoa portion a little bit. We're going to increase the grilled chicken portion a little bit and increase the veggies. And you're still eating the same kinds of foods. We're just adapting different portions to help with that slight calorie deficit, but also more importantly, focus on the protein and the fiber. So that's really the way that I like to approach the weight loss. But of course, I think also part of that is understanding their why behind like wanting to do this, because of course we want to be focusing on losing weight in a way that like honors God and honors our body. And so I like asking the 5 whys. I don't know if you guys do that as part of your program or not.
No, would you share those? That sounds
good. So it's something that I enjoy taking clients through, but it's asking yourself why 5 times. So if they come to me and they're like, well, I want to lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight? Well, I want to fit into my clothes better. Well, why do you want to fit into your clothes better? Well, because when I fit into my clothes better, I feel more confident. Well, why do you want to feel more confident? Well, when I feel more confident, I'm more likely to, go do that fun thing with my kids or with my friends. Okay, why do you want to do those fun things with your loved ones? Because then I'm more present and I'm a better version of myself and I can fill my cup up, all those things. So you get the picture. Like, that's why we want to do that. Because again, then we're focusing more on how can we steward our body instead of the number on the scale. How can we be stewarding our body, honoring our body, fueling our body to do the things that we want to do and to be with the people we want to be with and to serve God in the way that He's called us to serve. And if we're just only focusing on the number on the scale, we're just missing the big picture.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. So part of that, I think, for women and for myself, I think, your expertise is intuitive or mindful eating. Can you just talk a little bit more about how you use that with your clients? What does it look like? You talked about the questions, obviously, but this is specifically around eating, because I know people do have cravings, right? There's healthy cravings, unhealthy cravings. So if you could just speak to those and how do you work with those to get women to their specific goals?
Yeah, great question. So I kind of have a 3-pronged approach, if you will. So one is I like to teach hunger cues, because a lot of times we are so busy. We are just giving and running and doing all the things that we're not even in touch with when our body's telling us it's hungry, or we ignore those things, which isn't helpful. And then we need to learn how can we restructure our day or plan better so we have food available when hunger is actually present, right? So knowing our hunger and fullness cues. So I like to teach that. It's on a scale. I teach at our very first appointment so that people can get in touch with actually, when am I full, right? Because again, if I've been like struggling with the clean plate club for a long time, and now I need to actually stop and honor my body and stop eating when my body's actually satisfied instead of stuffed, how do I do that? So I like to teach that, number one. But also, how do we set up our plate, right? I think understanding how to build a balanced plate without like having to track every bite is super important. Some people like to track because they like the data and it doesn't like mess with their head negatively.
Sure.
And it helps them be more mindful. But then I also have people who just aren't going to have time to weigh and measure and, track and all those things that somebody else thrives on. And so getting to understand that a balanced plate really is going to look like a quarter of the plate being protein, a quarter being high quality complex carbohydrates that are high in fiber, and half of the plate being vegetables. About a fist is about the size, or a cup is about the size of your fist. So if you think about that, 2 cups of veggies would be great at a meal. A fist of protein, or if you're looking at the palm of your hand, that's about 4 to 6 ounces. So depending on your needs, that is kind of a gauge there. And depending on if you have insulin resistance or not, I would stick to maybe a 1/2 cup serving of the carbohydrates or fruit or something like that. But again, depending on your activity level, you may be able to have more like a cup worth. So kind of thinking about, that aspect of the plate is very important. Now, when it comes to how can I meet my goals? How can I, eat and manage the cravings, right? How do I kind of go through my day? Well, I want to ask you to ask yourself, how do I want to feel after? Because again, it's very easy to, everyone's having the pizza right now. That looks really good. Okay, but it's break at work and I have a couple more hours of work before I get done for the day. I know that pizza isn't going to sit well with me, or it's going to make me have lower energy or whatever. And so again, it's not maybe saying completely no, but how can I balance it better? Maybe can I add protein and veggie with that and treat the pizza more like a side? There's cookies in the break room. Again, how do I want to feel after? Can I make a choice that's going to make it a little bit more balanced at that time? Or am I realizing, it sounds appealing, it's really not going to be that worth it. And maybe there's another opportunity later on for like a date night or time out with your family, or another opportunity where you can really make it a worth it experience. That's what I like for clients to get really in touch with of, is this a worth it experience? And is this food actually going to help me feel my best right now? So always thinking about like, what is your future self going to want, and kind of taking ownership of those things. I think so often we give in to urges immediately. We are just an instant gratification culture. Lovely frou-frou coffee from Starbucks sounds great. I'm going to go get one right now. And it's like, we don't even sit with that urge and that craving. We just go and do. And then people wonder why they're not hitting their health goals. And it's like, well, you're very impulsive with your eating. You're very impulsive with those decisions. So 2 things to that I love to share is, 1, keep a craving journal. This is even like the notes app on your phone where something strikes, sit with it. Right? You have a craving for that specialty coffee. Okay, write it down in your cravings journal. See if that pops up again tomorrow and the next day. And then maybe this weekend you make a plan to go get one with a friend, right? And not make it as impulsive. That kind of goes along with what I teach about urges. And urge is like literally just a sensation in your body. We get urges to do things all the time and to act on things. And what I want it to encourage everybody that I work with to know is, you don't have to act on those urges. And we need to take a break and pause and have a timeout. And I actually recommend setting a timer even on your phone for 20 minutes. Sit with that. Go do something else, Right. See if that craving is still there 20 minutes later. If the craving's still there, write it in your craving journal. If the food or item is there present and you're like, yeah, I still actually really want it. Okay, how can you do it in the most balanced and mindful way possible and go and eat that thing? And don't have guilt about it if you really made that conscious choice. Or 3, maybe you realize you're actually really hungry. And yeah, that cupcake sounded really good, but then you're like, actually, I'm just really hungry right now. That's why that sounded appealing. And so you need to go get a balanced meal or snack, right? So I think when women understand that they don't have to have this uncontrollable craving response and that they actually have power over their urges, that's really helpful. And it just helps you to take that pause, take that 20 minutes, ride that urge wave, because oftentimes we have the urge and it peaks and then it dies down and it goes away. And so when we can learn how to work with our body and learn how to manage those cravings and what they mean and why they're coming, then we can just be so much more in tune and in touch with how to respond.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were sharing that, like how sanctifying that is, like not even with food, but just with other things, culture has just truly hijacked the area of waiting. I mean, it's just, you can have it now, you can have anything you want. So it's up to us to really look for ways that we can change our mindset around that, because if we keep following culture, it's not going to lead us to the right place. I think women are so confused, honestly. Like that's what I hear a lot is I don't even know how to eat. I don't even know what to eat anymore. I'm so confused. And then people end up not eating because it's just easier, so then they end up under eating. It's just, gosh, so many things that you shared really resonated with what I hear and see women going through. And I hope that everything Brittany shared really just maybe helped you think about things differently, even if it was just one thing. I think sometimes it's just a process for us all, right? Like we didn't end up to where we are overnight. And so it's kind of layers that have to be peeled off, and that looks different for everybody. I know that I've definitely been one that was obsessed with what I was eating and then realized, well, this isn't fun. This is affecting actually other parts of my life, And so it's just been kind of this slow, I guess, unfolding or undoing. But it's like food was given to us for joy and nourishment. And it's just sad that culture has made it something that's so opposite of that. And I love your approach that you really encourage, just practical, but yet let's think about these things so that, gosh, that can make you can be a better parent and a better wife and a better friend, all because it started because I wanted to lose weight, and I wanted to know what to eat. So I just love how God sanctifies us that way.
Yes, I couldn't agree
Right.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know I've really enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to be looking at how I can get more fiber in. So I always like, okay, protein is definitely like, I want to make sure I get enough protein, but I don't think a lot about the fiber. But now that I'm thinking, okay, I eat fiber, but do I eat enough? So thank you for giving me that challenge. I just really encourage if this resonated with you, connect with Brittany. She is very gifted at what she does. She approaches it in a very God-centered way and just with practicality. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and you've been maybe at this for a while and just feel frustrated, it might be time to get some guidance. And I just love, Brittany, that you teach things that can really go on into the future without you. You're teaching people how to really live a lifestyle that isn't idolizing food, but is really prioritizing your health, but in a sustainable way, so that you can learn these things that you don't need guidance forever. I think sometimes we think, I need somebody to hold my hand. Yeah, you might for a little while, but those things that you're saying will really teach you how to take care of yourself, but also how to teach your kids how to do the same thing, because as moms, they're always watching us. And that's something that I really struggled with over the years. Just me being a little bit maybe overly obsessed with food, I can tell that rubbed off on my kids some. So I'm trying to model different things. So maybe that's where you're at as well. But
you always have an opportunity to reteach. And I think just, I'm in it now. I have a 3.5-year-old and she's always asking questions. And it's so funny. She repeats, "Oh, I got to have my protein first." It's so funny. So this can trickle down. Don't feel like I have to have separate meals for my family. I need to do this separately. I need to,
right. That is a big thing.
This or that. Yeah. And, start with baby steps. If the rest of the family is not on board, just try little things that you can work
and
to
get in the
incorporate.
kitchen with your kids.
Absolutely.
That's really important too. Yeah.
I can't stress all of that enough. So, again, focus on how your body feels instead of always focusing on the number of the scale. Think about, how do I want to feel later? Think about what your future self is going to want and need. And again, if you need any help, feel free to head over to my website, www.yourlifenutrition.org. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I post pretty often throughout the week at Your Life Nutrition.
Oh, perfect. I was going to ask, that was my next question. How can
yes, and I have a podcast, the Your Life Nutrition podcast. So definitely, if you want more mindful eating, weight loss, blood sugar balance episodes, they're all over there for you to listen to.
Perfect. Well, we'll link all that in the show notes. Thank you so much, Brittany. I've loved this. So I hope you have as well. If you have any questions at all, reach out to us or Brittany. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you on the next episode.
If this episode has served you in any way, drop a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love it if you'd share any aha moments or takeaways on Instagram and tag us at Cornerstone Integrative Healing.
And if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so. We want to continue to walk this journey with you. Until next time, friends, know that we are praying for you.